On this episode of 419 by Design, we're going to get small with Mini Miscellaneous and see how these tiny food creations are made with owner-operator Kelly Brown. All that and more on this episode of 419 by Design.
My name is Kelly Brown, and I'm a mixed media artist. So I was troweling plaster on paper, I was experimenting with all these glazes and layering techniques that I learned as a faux finish artist, and I started to incorporate those into mixed media paintings. But I loved immersing myself into that kind of thing, doing art shows. And I had a little side display, one little tiny display in my booth where I was selling my paintings of weird little resin magnets. And that's how Mini Miscellaneous started. It was sort of like a simple trying to make jewelry out of resin and kind of, using paint and plaster techniques for my faux finish work. And it just was a little display of magnets. And then I started to make more. And then now eventually what happened was that the little tiny magnets got more creative and the fine art sort of became larger and more personal, but making the magnets started to become the focus. And then I realized this is super exciting what I can do making these little tiny things. I'm going to show you how to make an adorable little tiny hamburger, cheeseburger with fries on a little plate. And this is actually easier to make than you would think. And it's not using any polymer clay at all. To get started, first of all, you need to have your base plate. I actually have these little wooden plates that you can get from craft stores. Usually Dollhouse Miniatures have some sort of plate, and this needs to get base painted to whatever you would like your plate color to be. I just do white because it lets the colors of the food pop a little bit more. Another way that you can get your little plate base is if you just use a regular little mini Dixie cup. This little bottom circle makes a great little plate. It's almost the perfect size. You would just trim out this base, and then you can use that as the little base for your platter. It even has a little divot like a real plate would. So this is a really good cost-effective way to use as a plate base for your little hamburger platter. So our first step is we want to use a good quality gesso. If you're not using a base that's already white, this wood needs to get base painted white. We're just gonna totally 100% coat the wood plate and let that dry completely. The next step, once you have your plate ready, we need to make the little hamburger bun. And there are two different ways that you can use non-polymer clay objects to make an adorable little hamburger bun. One of which is buttons. Actually, any kind of button that you can paint would work. These happen to be wood buttons, and I just got them in a size that would fit on the plate. So this is two different sizes of buttons. You just want to have two that match in size, and the buttons are rounded edge usually. You can paint them, and you can use a little bit of spackle to fill in the two button holes, but this shape will make the perfect little hamburger bun. And the best item to use for the top of the hamburger is a little plastic googly eye. After you have your hamburger bun glued to the plate, the next step is to do the hamburger patty. It's easiest just to use dark chocolate brown craft foam. There's a lot of different colors that the foam comes in. The darker color, the better. Or if you can find them, if you have them in your house, these are little felt chair pads. They already come with some sticky, like a sticky surface on the back. They're already the perfect thickness. They have really good texture, and based on what size your little button is for the bottom bun, you might only need to trim it down just a little bit, and that can get glued right to the top of the base button to be your hamburger patty. Next, after you have your hamburger patty, we want to add some cheese, and you just cut a tiny little square that mimics like a little tiny slice of American cheese. We're gonna make a little teeny tiny cheese slice square. We're gonna add the glue right to the center of the little felt pad. And we're gonna take our toothpick and kind of fold down the edges of the paper first, and then go ahead and just put that right on top. And with the toothpick, kind of press down the corners a little bit so it sort of looks like it's melted down the side. After you add your cheese, it's time to add tomato and onion. The best way to make tomato slice is with red foam. You can also use paper, but the thickness just looks a little bit better if you have craft foam as the circle. You just want to take a tiny little piece and cut a small circle or a half circle with your scissors and the foam. And with the glue, you just want to go ahead and glue that right onto it. Just having that pop of red is going to look like a really cute tomato. And I'm just going to press that into place with the toothpick. Next step is to do an onion slice, and that works best with white craft foam. You definitely want to use a craft foam for the onion because the depth really helps it to really look like an onion when we do a cool step adding a chalk pastel. You first want to cut out a circle. And again, you don't have to do a complete circle, just a thin half circle is totally fine. Then you want to take this kind of purpley chalk pastel and you just want to use that to apply that color to the edge of the white foam. This purple and the white combination makes it really look like a slice of onion. Do a little dollop of glue, position it into place with the toothpick. So here's the little onion slice, kind of by the tomato, sort of side by side. Next, we want to add some lettuce. An easy way to add lettuce is to just do paper for lettuce. This is a really fancy craft paper that I found from a specialty store. This is really ideal because it has a lot of texture. If you have a cupcake paper in green, it already will have sort of that rippled edge, which will really look cute as lettuce. Another way is if you have any kind of napkin that has green on it, this will be thin enough that you'll be able to take a little piece of the green napkin and press it into your hamburger stack, and it'll look like little lettuce folds. And I'm just going to put a little bit of glue ahead of time on the edge. And then I'm going to take the toothpick and just sort of fold it and press that into the edges and just sort of curl it and maybe tuck it under the tomato a little bit. Just a nice bright pop of green somehow, and it's gonna look like lettuce in a super cute way. So the last step for the hamburger bun is to take the googly eye and you want to base paint it in a nice brown color, sort of a bread color. You want to add the glue to the googly eye and just set it off center on top, kind of off to the side, almost like the hamburger bun is kind of falling off, so that you can kind of see all of these fun little elements that you have going on in there. There's the onion, there's the tomato, and the lettuce. That looks great. The last step to your hamburger platter is to add a side of fries, and we make French fries using yellow craft foam. What you want to do is just cut thin little strips of the yellow craft foam, which are going to become individual little French fries. So you just have individual little fries. There's one extra step to make these look even more real, and that is to add a little bit of a chalk pastel texture. What you want to do is take a little throwaway cup, use a craft stick, and then on the side of a dark brown chalk pastel, just scrape a corner so you get some of the color into the cup. You just want to put them in the cup, and with sort of a fluffy brush, just kind of roll them around in that pastel. That will help them look like they actually have one side of like a potato skin. So there we have some really good roasted looking, really delicious French fries. So we're gonna take our glue and add a little bit of the glue on the side. And then we're just gonna place kind of haphazardly, just sort of on there in a cute little way, the side of fries for your hamburger platter. And with the toothpick, just kind of press them into place, just like that. And there you go, you have your hamburger platter with a side of fries.